And welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host, Tyler Brewer, and I am really excited about this episode. I had the lovely pleasure to sit down with Aussie transplant Jack Farley. Jack is a really interesting guy. He moved here from Australia to Brooklyn, a roundabout way, of course. And he came here working for this NGO, Take 3 for the Sea, which is a NGO that aims to conserve the environment and protect wildlife from the impacts of plastic pollution and waste by leading a movement of people connected to the planet. And Take 3 encourages everyone to pick up 3 pieces of plastic when they're leaving the beach, you know? So when you're coming out from a surf and you see some plastic or garbage, you should grab 3 pieces, bring it with you, you know, and recycle it. It helps reduce, and it also just makes us all mindful of plastic pollution and how we use it and how we should be using more reusable materials. So, so it was really interesting conversation. You know, Jack's really passionate about plastic. But what's also interesting is just his journey here, his journey to New York and being here, his thoughts on surfing here, but also just, I don't know, like Jack's story is very characteristic of New York stories, you know. Everyone who comes here, you know, it's all kind of a very similar story where you have a goal or a dream that you're chasing, or there's something you come here for. There's a reason for many people coming here. And what ends up happening, I think, is New York tends to chisel you and just kind of pick away at things and really get you down to the core, and really helps define you. And, you know, and then it really just shapes who you are. And sometimes you realize that dream that you were chasing, or thing that you were going after, may not be that, and maybe it's something else or a different direction. And I just find it, you know, real interesting. You see that in a lot of people's stories here, and it's great to cover it, you know, and just really fun. I think you're going to enjoy the conversation. And Jack's really cool, really fun Aussie guy, and has a lot to say and has learned a lot while being here. So hope you enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. You. All right. So we're here with Jack Farley. How's your pie, guy? How you going?
Not bad, mate.
I tend to fall into Aussie accent, particularly when I'm talking to Aussie guests.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just about to say I listened to the podcast with Lincoln and Stefan from a few years back, and I appreciate the accent you're throwing on there as well.
Those guys are great. So did you know them from back in Oz, or did you know them when you came to New York, actually?
Yeah, I grew up in Sydney on the Northern Beaches, so
Nice.
As did the boys, and I got to know, I kind of crossed paths with them probably in like after school, like knowing who they were, but not friends with them, so to speak. And then kind of met Stefan and Campbell. We did a surf trip, so I was lucky enough to go with them. I kind of like won a prize to go on this surf trip with Hurley when they were doing the H2O water
Nice.
programs, and Lincoln and Stefan and Campbell were shooting it. But I'd already known them, and we just had a great time. And I know Lincoln as well, just through like the surf circle in Sydney. And they all went to Mossman High, which is a high school just around the block from where I went to school. So kind of like after high school, those different circles just meshed, and yeah, they're all legends.
So what was your local?
I grew up at Manly Beach, which is like a pretty renowned beach. For those of you that don't know, it's the most southern of the northern beaches.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, I think, 20 beaches that kind of just each, there's a little strip of beach, and then you wrap around the headland, and there's just the next one. It's incredibly beautiful and plenty of waves on top.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of good contests there. I always remember when Damien Hardman won his world title was at Manly, and it was just like really fun looking right way back when. And I always have these associations with surf breaks in Australia, and I'm like to like key surfing moments. It's really weird.
Yeah,
So
and I only really realized when I got a bit older how lucky I was to be born on that patch of land, that stretch of beach. I mean, the Northern Beaches has got so many good waves, and
yeah,
the North Narrabeen in particular, where Damien's from, has produced countless world champions. And the Northern Beaches is where the thruster was pioneered with Simon Anderson. So yeah, there's a lot of surf history there for sure.
So is it killing you being here right now while it's pumping back down there? Like surf is ginormous, like huge.
Yeah, it is. I think it stings a little bit harder. I had a plan to go back to Australia right before lockdown happened. I've been in the States now for about 3.5 years, and I've been going back once a year. So this is the longest I've been away from home. And yeah, so to not be able to go back home, and then I wouldn't be back there now at this point, but it's not only been pumping, but consistent.
Yeah.
Which is not, you don't always get that on the Northern Beaches. You do get pumping waves, but they don't typically always hang around for that long, and they have. So it is what it is, it just has got me more stoked to train hard. So when I do get back home, because the waves are pretty big, pretty heavy at the moment.
Yeah. It's really huge. That wave at Deadlands was sick. And then was it Chris and Ever somewhere in the Northern Beach is just in a couple huge bombing lefts. Like, oh my.
I think I saw one of those on Instagram today, actually.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow. It's really incredible.
I grew up my local, obviously surfing all up and down the beaches. My local was Manly, like South Stay, and I grew up doing the whole surf life saving thing up until I was about 21. But when it's that big in Sydney, I love the novelty spots that break very rarely. You really need a solid swell to kind of wrap around some of the harbour inlets. I won't name too many of them. They're not that secret, but there's some novelty waves, and they're kind of my favourites to surf when the waves are big back home.
So you grew up in Northern Beaches, and what brought you to New York? How did you end up coming here? Just kind of traveling and just kind of thought you'd try it out, or was there like a purpose?
Good question. I came in 2017. I grew up in Manly, in actually Bagala, which is just like up the road from there, and as a white boy in Australia, just like lived a very sheltered life, and didn't really, understand the world until I started traveling a little bit when I was, after high school. But I think it was just the want to come to America was just, I just wanted something more. Like I traveled a little bit here and there. I'd done a few international trips, like just for fun with mates. I did Bali as soon as we all finished high school. We went and did that.
As you do.
Yeah. And then I've been to Europe a few years later, just for 5 weeks, and was able to travel and see a few countries and just love traveling. And I would just scrape whatever money I could to go on trips whenever I could. And I was lucky enough to do a trip, like I said before, to Indonesia with Stefan and Campbell. And then I've also been to Vietnam for like a university trip. And that both of those trips had a bit of a purpose behind them. And that got me into the work that we might talk about a little bit later. But Sydney's great, Manly's amazing, but it's a massive bubble. And I just wanted to challenge myself. I've always had to pay rent from after high school. When I was at home, I've always had to pay my way, but I've had everything I've needed. And Manly's got a huge international population, like countless Brazilians, countless Italians, all coming for that lifestyle. So a lot of my close friends are not Australian, and they've come to Australia and they've had to make a second life for themselves. And I just saw how much growth that provided them on a personal level. And I just knew that I wanted to go and kind of break free from my support network of family and friends and just see what I'm made of. So I came over to the States on a J1 visa, which is a student exchange visa. So essentially within 12 months of graduating from a bachelor degree, you can go and work and live in the States for 12 months. So I took about 6 years to complete a 3-year business degree, just failing subjects or doing it part-time, doing jobs on the side. And when I finally finished it, I applied for the visa and just took off with about enough money to pay for a month's rent. And that was about it.
Good on you.
Yeah, so I knew I had 12 months. I knew I wanted to experience California in the winter. That was a no-brainer as a surfer.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see Colorado and Chicago, but other than that, California and New York were my non-negotiables that I had to do. And I knew I didn't have any money, so I knew I couldn't just go and hang out in New York as a tourist and spend, all of my money. I knew I wanted to live there.
It would probably wouldn't last very long,
Exactly. So I got a job with, I was working for activewear company Lululemon in Sydney for about 3 or 4 years, and was lucky enough to get a crack at a job, the same role, just like kind of sales associate on the floor, but in a store in Soho in Manhattan.
Sweet. That's like the best job ever.
Yeah, dude. So it was like a dream come true. I couldn't believe it. And it just gave me the security that I didn't have any money, but I knew I had a job where I could pay, rent and put some food on the table. And I committed to, I got the job. They're like, we need you for at least 4 months. And I was like, yep, no worries. And I ended up staying for 8 months. Nice. That was in 2017. So I got here in March 2017 with a suitcase, a backpack, and a surfboard. And I remember landing in Williamsburg right off the Myrtle stop, I think, and there was like still ice on the ground. And I remember my phone died, and I had to take my phone out and charge it through my laptop outside like a McDonald's in this icy snow with my surfboard. And it was just the excitement of something new. I will always remember that.
Oh, it's the initiation, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that's what, like, I feel like every surf Aussie that comes through New York at some point kind of experiences, like, just coming in. Either it's like, I have lots of friends and just like no place to go even, and just, the Aussie dumb luck in some ways ends up happening. And you just kind of, the cheerful nature and ends up opening paths and friendships. And next thing you know, you got a place to stay and a job, and you're all sorted.
100%. And I think after, 3.5 years living in the States now, I have a much better understanding of systematic racism and white privilege. So I think it's Aussie dumb luck, but it's also, like that white male privilege. It's much easier to stroll through in a new country and kind of figure things out if, you look a certain way. So I think the first couple of months, it's like, oh, this is sweet. Everything's running smooth. And you begin to understand things a bit different depending on what you look like and where you come from.
Yeah, no, it's a real, it's a thing that is, I think, for a lot of people coming from outside of the country, to it, and particularly I feel like in the last, I don't know, like it's always been bad, and just, it's become so much more at the forefront, which is great. And people are waking up and being more aware and thoughtful of what they're saying and how they're conscious. They're being conscious of it all now, or at least in some parts of the US, and with some people, but it's definitely, the one thing I love about New York too, though, is it's just like, you are confronted with so many things. There's no hiding, you can't really retreat back into like a house in the suburbs. It's like, you're just in the thick of it.
100%. And like, I came over here really passionate about plastic pollution, obviously. And